what's cooking. Let's get the facts. Let's see what's cooking. It's time for Yo-Yo Max 12.
Hello everyone, today we're going to make these adorable Valentine's Day teddy bear cake pops. This idea was inspired by one I found on the Bakerella website. Also, stick around to the end of the video because there'll be a special announcement from a YouTube channel that I've subscribed to and that I enjoy very much by the name of My Cupcake Addiction. Of course, if you're making cake pops, you will need some cake. You can use your own from scratch cake recipe, or you can use a cake mix. In this particular case, I used a red velvet cake mix, and I just prepared it according to package directions. I used a 2-layer sized cake mix, which makes enough for 2 9-inch size cakes, or enough to fill a 9 by 13-inch pan. You just bake your cake up according to package directions and make sure that you let it cool completely. Once it's cooled, take your cake and break it up into fine crumbs in a large bowl. Now you need to add something to bind all those crumbs together to make your cake pops. I used frosting to do this. I'm using cream cheese flavored frosting. You could use any kind of frosting you like, or even something like Nutella. I put in about 3/4 of that container into the cake crumbs. The exact amount is up to you. Some people prefer moister and softer cake pops. You need enough to make sure those crumbs are all bound together and that they stick together. And you can mix the last part with your hands just to make sure you have the right texture and the right consistency. Now you're going to divide your cake pop mixture into portions. I'm using a cookie scoop to do this, or a small ice cream scoop. The reason it's great to use a cookie scoop is because you get similar sized cake pops when you're done, but you don't have to. You can just use your hands and take out portions of it. Then I put this in the refrigerator and I let it chill for approximately an hour. With this size of cookie scoop, I ended up with approximately 24 portions for that size of cake mix. So there is a chilled cake pop portion. Now form it into a peanut shape. So it'll have like a narrow middle and 2 roundish ends to it. Once your basic shape is formed, you're going to insert the sucker stick or the lollipop stick. I buy these at the bulk barn, but they can also be purchased at craft stores or even online if you look for them. I dip mine into a little bit of melted candy melt or chocolate and then insert it about halfway into the cake pop. The chocolate just helps the stick adhere to the cake pop and helps it from keeping it from falling off. Now these little bears are holding a little candy heart. These are called conversation hearts. I don't know if these are available all over the world or not, but around here they come out around Valentine's Day, and they're little candy hearts with little cute sayings on them. What I'm doing is pressing down on the cake pop just to make a little spot for that heart, to make sure we have a little depression there to attach it later on. At this point, we're also going to attach the ears. I'm using these little round candies. Bakerella used extra large chocolate chips. You can use whatever you'd like to make the ears with, as long as they have a round shape and they are small. I like these because they have a little concave surface to them, which I find makes them look more like teddy bear ears. Also at this point, we're going to make a little snout by attaching a chocolate chip using a little bit of melted chocolate. And that's the same way I attach the ears. I just dip them into a little bit of melted chocolate. Then place this into the freezer for about 10 or 15 minutes, or the refrigerator for about an hour. While you're waiting, you can make up the teddy bear feet. These are miniature Reese's peanut butter cups. I'm using a little bit of melted chocolate and just dabbing it on in several places on the bottom of the Reese's cup. Bakerella used Hershey's Kisses to do this, but I found them to be a bit too big for the size of cake pop that I had. To make this look more like a bear foot, I'm going to add these little candy sprinkles, and those would be the bottom shape of the foot where the little pads are. You could use whatever kind of color candy you like as well, or you could even put one big heart instead of several small ones like I'm doing here. Now those are candy melts that I've melted. You need enough candy melts so that you can dip your cake pop straight up and down without having to twist it or turn it. That's the best way. I use a small drinking glass to melt mine in, and it wasn't quite deep enough, so I just use a spoon just to get the chocolate to go all the way up over the top of the cake pop, or the bottom of the cake pop I should say. And then you can remove it and just let the excess drip off, and you can even tap it lightly to get that chocolate to come off as well. Now you have an option here. You can stick it into a block of styrofoam to let it dry, or in my case, I'm just putting it on a piece of wax paper. The back of the cake pop will be a little bit flat, but that's not a big deal. If the chocolate is not set yet, you can just stick the candy right on the front, and you can also stick the legs on. If your chocolate is already set, just dip the Reese's cup into a little bit of chocolate, press it onto the cake pop, hold it, and it shouldn't take very long. You can let go and it'll have stuck to the cake pop. You can do the same thing with the other side. Just like that. Now for the little bear arms, I'm using, these are Canadian Smarties or Nestle's Smarties. They are a lot like M&Ms. I'm using the brown ones. You can also use brown M&Ms if you'd like. Milk Duds might be a little bit too big. If you have to look around to see what you have available locally. Now for the little face details, I'm using a little bit of black frosting. You could use black candy melt as well. And drawing on some eyes, a nose, and a little smile. And here's another one. And there's a completed little bear. Now people ask me what to do with my leftover candy melts. What I do is I pour them on a piece of wax paper, I spread it out so it's nice and thin, and then I pop it in the refrigerator to harden. Once it's hardened, I just peel it off and I break it into pieces, put it back into a container, and I can use them again another time. And there are the completed cake pops. I made 4 of these little teddy bears. I took the rest of that cake pop mixture that I had and I put it in the freezer, and I'll use it again another time. This cute little bear looks a bit different. What I did was I attached the legs before I dipped it into the chocolate, and I find it gives it a nice smooth appearance. So you can do it either way depending on what your preference is. There's the whole gang once again. Now to package these, I put these into little treat bags that are Valentine's Day themed with a little bit of red and white ribbon, and they're perfect to give away to somebody special. Now here's something else you might want to give a try.
Beautiful cake pops, Tammy. For My Cupcake Addiction's take on a Valentine's cake pop, head on over to our channel, My Cupcake Addiction, for these gorgeous rose cake pops. Make sure you subscribe for more.